There's a question here about you were talking about the period, there's a question here about the clothes, the costumes. Will they be taken from that period, or are there other influences that have been used and adapted and introduced into it?
The production is very much, the costumes are very much of the period. Again, there's the thing, I'm sure you've dealt with this in Shakespearean productions, where you say, what is our perception of what Elizabethans wore and what is it that they actually wore? Right. So it's certainly through the view of a designer, but David Beckler knows his period designing like nobody I know. Certainly, as you saw in the clip, there was a reference to Marilyn Manson. That was used as a jumping off point, but somebody like Marilyn Manson, his art is full of Weimar Berlin images.
Right.
And so many popular artists are. But the core of the piece is of the period, but it's a flavor of the period.
Yes, and we showed how that we are reconstructing period underwear and everything else, so they really have done their homework.
Yes.
All right, I guess this is not a question. One of you commented, wow, Bruce really knows his stuff. All right.
Thank you. I try.
So what's the most difficult part or scene someone's asking for you?
Right now they're all difficult, because coming into this show, as I said, I was absolutely terrified. But Amanda and Kelly, our choreographer, and Rick, our musical director, have made this a very open, supportive, safe, creative space. It's letting yourself be that open and vulnerable to things.
Right.
And also, I've never been an actor afraid of going out on a limb, but what I'm finding with them is I leap out on a limb and they say, there's that limb, but what about this limb that is something I've never thought of? So it's
wonderful.
incredibly
Great.
Exciting. Yeah.
Good, well, we'll make sure we won't talk you down.
We'll talk, yeah, okay, yeah.
Right. There's a question about, will there be live music?
Yes, all musicals at Stratford have always featured live musicians. Again, I think this question ties back to the series of productions that have been done of Cabaret.
Right.
In the original production, there was a 5-piece on-stage band for the Kit Kat Club, and there was a full orchestra in the pit that was never acknowledged, which is kind of weird. And then same in the revival, and then for the latest Sam Mendes production, the actors played the instruments and there was a band on stage, no pit band. For our show, we are fully acknowledging the presence of the orchestra in the pit, but the show does begin with a small on-stage band that is really more of a klezmer band. Okay. It's an accordion, a violin, a euphonium, and Sam's gonna kill me. What's he playing? Yes, ukulele. Ukulele. Right. So it's again, and that's something that in the script is totally open to interpretation.
All right, well, it sounds very foreign. Mm-hmm. How do you approach foreign accents, somebody wants to know, and character voices? We've got an amazing coaching team here at the festival, and so I've already had a whole bunch of sessions with Jane Gooderham about the accent, and also talking to Amanda. The play begins in 3 languages. Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome, which sets you up for this city, an international city at the time like none we've ever known now. It's not a homogeneous city where everybody speaks English, or in this case, German. Everybody spoke all languages all at once. All of Europe, all of the world was flocking to Berlin at this time. So people on average would speak at least the 3 languages, right, and then up to 7 others. So there was talk initially of how much of the play I would speak in German or French or English. Okay. We're working our way through that. But again, you're speaking, for an actor, it's a question of, are you speaking your mother tongue? In which case, personally, I would say there should be no accent. Right. Because if everybody's speaking German... And what is the Emcee's mother tongue? German. German, okay. But I am speaking English, so it's the study of speaking a foreign language. How well do you know that language? How comfortable are you with it? How much have you... Sidebar, my mom and I years ago went on a tour of the Loire Valley, and we got on the tour bus, and this lady started doing her tour, and she said, "Hello, welcome to the tour of the Loire Valley." And she spoke this bizarre voice all the way through. Finally, we asked her where she learned English, and she'd learned English in Holland and Boston. So it very much depends where your character has learned the second language. Right, that's very funny. Well, okay.
Here's an interesting question, given what they've done to your hair, Bruce. Has this role influenced you any way thus far?
Wow. It's making me braver.
Interesting.
It's making me braver. I feel in a slightly different position as an actor. Over the last couple of years, going from supporting musical roles to doing, basically just Shakespeare in the Wild last year, and this year doing, again, it's a supporting role, but the way it's coming out, he's kind of the leader of the company. It's a different position for me. So yeah, it's new territory.
All right, so a little bit of a related question. Somebody wanted to know, is the Emcee here comic or evil?
Oh, neither. Neither. I think really, it's the character is not defined in the script in any way. So it's been wide open. Some people have played him as sort of he's the devil. Some have played him as the mischief maker. Some have played him as God creating all things. The approach we've started taking is that he's the artist who has observed all of this story, and the artist will provoke, whether that's to make you laugh, to make you cry, to upset you, to make you question something. So to put it into a category of good or evil is
okay. Then there's somebody here who asks a question that's again related. Does the Emcee see the audience as clods or equals?
Oh, in this production, the Emcee needs the audience immensely. You'll see in the way the play is produced that the Emcee has a story that needs to be heard, that needs to be told, and he desperately needs to be understood. Not necessarily agreed with, but the information has to get across. Yeah.
There's a question here, Bruce, about what is the relationship between the Emcee and Sally Bowles?
Again, in the script, there is very little actual relationship between him, and I'm finding in rehearsals right now the relationship is more with Clifford Bradshaw than with Sally. Technically, he is the master of ceremonies at the Kit Kat Club where all of these various people congregated. So certainly he knows Sally, but he's a co-worker with her. But he's kind of the difference between a co-worker of a senior actor in the festival company and a younger actor in the festival company. It's that sort of feeling.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. There's a question here about the designs, Bruce, about how medium do we use to draw the designs? And of course, that's changed a lot in recent years. Sometimes our designers will use pen, sometimes they'll use pencil, sometimes they'll use markers, sometimes they'll use watercolors on markers. So there's a real variety there. And in recent years, they've been designing actually using a computer pad, so they can just do a design on the computer pad, and then there's no original. The designs here, though, look beautifully colorful.
Yeah, David Beckler designs with, I believe, pencil and ink, and then we'll watercolor them in, paint them in after.
I see,
So,
okay.
Yeah.